Hi Stampers, this is Lisa with Queen Bee Creations. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator and I go live right here on Facebook and YouTube every Monday and Thursday to share some sort of a card making tutorial with you. Mondays I've been doing kind of a fun fold card, and on Thursdays I've been starting a beginner series because I realize that some of my cards are a little on the advanced side where most people love that. There are some that are trying to figure out the basics. And so I'm running this basics series, helping you guys get started in it and hoping that along the way I'm dropping some little nuggets of information and tips and tricks and things that you can do along the way that might even help the advanced stamper. So today we are doing a stack, cut, and shuffle. And this is a super easy card. Like, I made 3 cards like really super quick, just by stacking 3 pieces of paper together, cutting them all at once on the trimmer, and then just putting them back together like puzzle pieces. And they're so fast that I would be on here for like 5 minutes and my theory would be, my live would be all done. So I've actually got 4 different patterns that I'm going to be doing today. And I actually didn't measure any of them. They're all done just by sticking it in the trimmer, cutting them, and letting it go. So they're going to be really easy, really fast, and hopefully very useful. So let's go ahead and get started. Oh, and congratulations to Mary Kay Harmon. She is our winner from Monday's live. She won that card by liking and sharing the video. And it was pointed out to me that there's a few more people saying they like and shared than I'm actually getting likes and shares on my video, but we're just hoping everybody's going to play honest and that's all going to go well, because nothing I can do about that. But I want her to go to my website, queenbeecreations.net, and then /prize patrol, and then that's where you would enter in your information with your address and where you would like that sent to. So congratulations to Mary Kay. Okay, here are our cards. As I said, they're really simple. This one is using Friends of the Ocean Designer Series paper. This is in the mini catalog. You can see I've got these 3 different patterns. And I just mixed them up. And then this one is done with the Toadstool, what are they called? Toadstool Gardens is the name of this paper. And this paper is actually free. This is a paper that you're not able to purchase. It is only available for free by placing a $60 order. You can choose this as one of your level 1 items because we are right now in the midst of celebration. And what that is that this is their biggest sale of the year, and they create special product that's not available anywhere else that you can only earn for free. You can't buy it. For every $60 that you spend, you earn a level 1, and for $120, you earn a level 2. But this is one of the things you could get for free. And this is how it looks together on the card. Okay, for another one, oh, and I should have written down these designer series papers, what the names of them are. This one is the Beautiful Bokeh, and there are 3 more colors other than this, but I just picked 3 that I thought went well together. And then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to stick them in the trimmer, and I'm going to randomly just cut them into pieces. So I'm going to keep them together, and then I'm going to set it in here and just slice. So that's going to be my first step. And then I'm going to come in here at another angle and then just slice again. And it doesn't matter how you do this. You can do this any number of ways. It's all going to work the same because we're basically taking these 3 pieces of paper and then putting them back together. Now you'll notice when I cut them, I stuck them back down in the order they came out because it's really easy to get super confused if you don't kind of keep track of how you are cutting it, because it, like I said, it's a puzzle to put back together. So by leaving it in the sections as I cut them, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to come here and I'm going to lay the 3 across the top. Okay, then I'm going to take the next one, and because I started with blue here, I'm going to put blue there. And then there's going to be orange, and then my yellow is going to be over here. Then my blue is going to start here, and that's going to go there, and that's going to go there. Okay, so that's going to give me my 3 different cards. And just by keeping them in their orientation and then fanning them out like that, it allowed me to really keep them together. Now these started out with 3 3¾ by 5. And then this is 4 by 5¼ Because remember, we talked about before that because our card is 4¼ by 5½, we're going to reduce it by 1/4 inch. So 4¼ 4, 3 3/4. And then for the height, 5½, 5¼ 5. Okay. Then what I want to do is set it on here, and it's going to be a normal border. And after a while, you will get to the point where you can kind of eyeball and know how big the borders are. But to start out, you might want to just lay them down on there, kind of pieced together, and go, okay, I think that's about right. And then you can lift them and glue them down one at a time, making sure that your border remains consistent. You may want to put a little bit of a Post-it note, maybe holding down each one. That could be helpful. But all I'm going to do now is I'm going to use liquid glue, and I'm going to put a little bit on the back. Now, because designer series paper is a little bit thinner, I don't want very much glue because it will actually warp the paper if you use too much glue. But because I'm using liquid glue, I have the time to kind of wiggle it around and get it in the position I want. Whereas if you're using Stampin' Seal or something that's more of an instant stick, then you don't get that wiggle time. You have to lay it down exactly where it goes the first time and it's stuck. And I'm making sure I'm getting it to the edges because I don't want the edges to lift. Okay, so I'm just running a very thin bead around the outside edge. And then carefully laying it down. Okay, then we're going to do this with the other ones. So same idea. Has anybody done this card before? Is this something you've tried, or is this new? As I said, we're going to do 4 different patterns, and this is just the first one. So that those of you who are beginners or want to see the different ways this can be done, I'm not on and off here, you know, instantaneously. But let me know what you think, because I'm doing these videos for you guys. So there's no point in my coming out here and talking to myself. I'm here talking to you. So let me know what you would like to see done. If there's some technique that you've seen you want to know how to do, or if there's something that's confusing you. Like I posted on my Facebook page the other day, how to read the ruler a little better. I know it's something we learned in grade school, and if we haven't used it between then and now, maybe some of it kind of fluttered away. I've also been doing some beginner posts on my blog, in that in amongst all my fun folds, I did a post on about the different types of stamps that Stampin' Up! Makes and what the difference is and why. And then I've also done one on the same with adhesives. I'll be doing one on paper, all those sorts of things. So there will be a series on my blog to follow. Once we have these together, then we're ready to just adhere them to the card front. So these are just regular card fronts. I took an 8.5 by 11 piece of cardstock, and I scored it right down the middle at 4 1/4, and then I turned it, and then I cut them at 5 1/2. and then I have 3 of them. And you would just have the number of card bases as to the number of pieces. Like this one has 3 pieces, so I have 3 card bases. Now, if I was using 4 pieces or 5 pieces, then you would, just up your number of card bases. Yeah, see, Carol Sue says she has not done these before. That's great. So hopefully this is helpful and something you may give a try. And then to finish these off, I would just use, I've got punches out here. I've got a 2-inch and a 1 3/4. And you would just stamp a sentiment and then punch it out. And then I adhered it with dimensionals. But I wanted to show you guys some different ways to do this. So I'm going to move on to the next set. And this is, again, oh, this is 4 papers. Okay, so this one has 4 different designer series papers, and this is one of the new online exclusive ones. If you've been around for a while, then you may remember we had this once before with these owls on it, and it was Blackberry Bliss and kind of a gold. It was really pretty. Well, now they've done it up in these neons, which I have to admit are not my favorite, but everybody's tastes are a little different. So hopefully, somebody in a tropical area thinks these are gorgeous. Okay, so I'm going to again bring in my trimmer, but this time instead of going diagonal, I'm going to go straight. I mean, and you can choose to measure it over. I can put this at 2 1/4 and then cut down and then come this way. Let's see, 2. Okay, I'm keeping it, in order. This one maybe, I don't know, 2 1/2, 2 3/4. Okay, so I probably could have gone, a little more uneven. Oops, I'm out of the camera. I probably could have come down a little further and made my cut down here so they weren't so close together, but it works. It may even be the perfect place to put your sentiment is right over that where they all come together. So I'm going to do the same thing again. I'm going to start out by putting down the first piece and laying them out. Then I'm going to do the second piece. And because I started with that there, I'm going to start there. Sorry, I need a little more desk space. And the bottom one, we're going to go here, because remember this is 1, 2, and this is 3. Oh goodness. Okay, so this ended up a little wonky because I ended up with all pink and all green, and no, I didn't. That's this way. Okay. I have to keep them. You could also play around a little bit if you wanted to and kind of swap them around, and mix and match and get them to a pattern you like better. Probably should have used 4 colors. I guess we'll go with it. Just keep in mind it's 4 different papers. Oh, that's what we could have done. We could have flipped some of them over to the other side. That's on the back side here. That would be 4 different colors. Like I said, play around with it, put 4 different papers together, see what you like, then start building them. As you can see, I did not pre-build these ones ahead of time, so I'm just winging this as we go. Yes, Janet was saying that this would be a great idea to put these together and then give them the labels unattached. I would stamp the labels and then put the matting on them, put some dimensionals on the back, and then give it to them as a gift, and then they could choose when they need to send a card which sentiment they want to put on it. You could do a mix of, you know, thank you, happy birthday, thinking of you, hello. It would make a great gift. And I've got some YouTube tutorials out there where I've actually made a box that would hold the cards and the sentiments in it. Okay, so I'm not going to put all 4 of them together. I've got 2 of them. Let's go ahead and stick those on the card bases, and then we can move on to our next pattern. And then if people want to stick around and see me put sentiments on them, we can do that too. Like I said, let me know what you want. I'm here for your benefit. I feel like this should have been mixed up. I should have had a pink down here and a pink up here, and then these 2 be green. But I couldn't think on the fly to move those around. Because now I want this one and this one, and it's giving me the same papers. Where I've got, so I needed the other 4, but that maybe would have been better. Where they were diagonal. I like that better. But we'll move on. So that's one pattern, doing it in squares. The other one we've done was in triangles. I'm going to bring in another one. So this is the, oh darn, it's the one with the ducks. Can't think of the name. Does somebody remember the name of this one? But this is another one. That's the great thing about designer series paper that Stampin' Up! Makes, is that if you pick a pack of paper, regardless of what paper it is, more than likely you're going to be able to find 3 that blend together perfectly, because this has got the pinks and the pretty peacock in this, so I can complement it very easily. So I just pulled out a stack of designer series paper and just started mixing and matching. And again, I'm going to lay it in here, just kind of, I don't know, a little bit random. I'm going to put it back together the same way that it came, and then we'll mix and match. Okay, so we have one of each pattern for each card. I started out, as I said, 3 3/4 by 5. I'm using liquid glue to put them onto a 4 by 5 1/4 inch piece of basic white. These pieces were big enough, you could have even used the ducks. That would have been cute. But you would just start with them all facing the way that you need them so that when you cut them, they go back together, right? Is everybody aware? I mean, hopefully you are, but I had somebody who was kind of an experienced stamper I was talking to the other day that didn't realize that this had a second tip on the bottom. Did you all know that this was under here? This is another way that you could apply glue, and the nice thing is it's got this kind of silicone tip to it that's kind of at an angle. If you remember the glue we used to have in school, I can't remember which one it was. It's kind of like a rubberized cement, and you could use this tip to spread the glue around so it was thinned out a little bit. So just an idea. Also, when I cut these pages, I cut this cardstock, the basic white, I cut it in mass. And so I guess I didn't realize at one point my blade was going dull, and I had quite a few rough edges on these when I pulled them out of the drawer to use them. And of course, I don't want rough edges on my card. So what I did was I grabbed what I have left over from the old days as a sanding block. Now you can get these at big box, home stores. But this was something Stampin' Up! Made back in the day. I've had this for probably 20 years. But all I did was I rubbed this on the edge of the cardstock, and it took off all those little things that are, on the edge that make it rough. And if you don't have a sanding block, another thing you could use is an emery board. If you have a nail file around, you could use the nail file to kind of rub on the edge and get rid of those rough pieces. Now, I said my blade went dull. It probably did, because what I was doing was cutting a lot of paper all in one day, and I wasn't paying, I was such in a groove of just cutting and cutting and cutting. I wasn't looking really close. But occasionally I do remember to go in there and take a piece of cardstock and slide it down this little trimmer piece and pull the lint out of there. Because that's another reason that your cards may look a little ragged on the edges, is if there is some lint in that little groove that the blade slides down into, the lint can get in the way of the blade and make it cut roughly. So make sure that you are occasionally cleaning out the track and making sure that your blades are sharp. I have heard some people say that you can rub the blade onto sandpaper, an emery board, those sorts of things, and it's supposed to be able to sharpen the blade. I haven't tried that, but it might work. Lily Pod Lane, thank you, Gian. That's what this is. That's what this designer series paper is. Something about having a camera in front of your face makes your brain go total air. I'm liking the way this one is going together. This is really pretty. So again, this time what I did was I took my cardstock, again we started 8.5 by 11, and I scored it at the 5.5 and cut at the 4.25. So it's the same size card in the end, but it's just got the fold, or the fold, I guess, is going to be on that side. Now you can either make it the top or you can make it the left side. It can go both ways. You just decide which way you prefer. I tried to grab papers that didn't have much of a direction to it, so I would have my choice of how I wanted to lay that out, to go portrait or landscaped orientation. I feel like that's going to run out of adhesive on me any minute. But that's okay, I guess I can just show you how we do refills. So there's our third set, and I have one more. And this is the one we used on Monday. Utterly Adorable is the stamp set. This is the paper. I love that. The paper that has the otters on it. But again, I'm using the back. I wanted something non-directional, not distracting. And then we can just try to make a different pattern out of it. I tend to like the diagonals better, so I think that's how I'm going to go. So I'm coming down only maybe 3/4 of an inch over here, further down on this side, and then what I'm going to do this time is come up from the bottom. No, let's go this way. That's what I was doing. I want to go this way. What do I want to do here? Again, it doesn't matter how you do it, just as long as you have all three of them stacked one on top of each other and you're cutting them at the same time. You know, I really like the 3 a whole lot better than the 4. I know I was a little frustrated with it, and I'm not super happy with the colors or the way it came out. Again, somebody will like it. But I think artistically, the 3s, as we were talking before, when you add embellishments, I do them in odd numbers because somebody told me that an artist told them that your eye has a tendency to like odd numbers better than even. And sure enough, it played out with that one. At first I thought it was just the colors that, I'm not used to, but I think it's the 4. I think that's what was getting me. Kind of funny. Oh, New Zealand. Welcome, Anne. That's fun. What time is it there? I feel like we're hitting you in the middle of the night or something. Jan says she thinks this is so much easier. What's easier about it? What did you do before? Because I was looking, online to figure out some different angles, and I noticed quite a few people put it together. They start with a little bit smaller piece, and then they, put a gap in between them so that there was a white border in between. That's totally doable. We would just have to start smaller, but because this was beginners, I figured somebody didn't want to try to figure that out. But as a beginner, if you did like this, one thing you could do is cut 1/4-inch strips and then lay them over the top and just glue it down right over the seam and then cut it off here at the edges. You could flip it over and just trim it off those excess. And you could even do it, say you could do this with a petal pink, or something complementary. You wouldn't have to use white, but the white would blend in with the edges, so you wouldn't see it on the edge. But if you're ever working with something and you're going, oh, I really want that border in the middle, but I don't want to have to deal with the measurements or how that's going to go together, use a 1/4-inch strip and just glue it over the top. Oh, easier than 4 pieces. Yes, I agree. Like I said, there's just something about that 4-piece I was not liking. And that's sometimes what happens. You start doing something and it's not going together as you had envisioned. Obviously, that did not. But don't throw it away, because I know there's other things that you can do with it. Even if I don't glue those together and leave them, as they are, these ones are, I can use these and mix them up the other direction. Or if I hadn't glued it to the card base, I could take this, for instance, and maybe set it in the die cutting machine with that detailed butterfly over the top, and then die cut it out. I might even do one of those and just show it to you in a blog post. But you could cut out your butterfly or any other kind of detailed thing, and then the upper wings would be green and lower wings would be pink. And you wouldn't really see the pattern as much. It would just give the butterfly some color behind it. So don't ever think, oh, this is horrible, I hate it, I want to throw it away, because we know our supplies are not cheap. We want to make the most of them. So think of something else you do, some other way that you can chop it up and use it in pieces, or, punch out of it or something. Again, I had started with my designer series paper. I used 1 pack of paper, combined 3 patterns that I like that went together, and then I flipped the designer series paper over and looked at the back. Put that stack. Okay, this isn't the one we're looking at, but any of our designer series papers are going to have all the colors listed here in the label of what's in here. So I was able to look at the back of this paper and know that it had Pool Party, and I believe it's Gray Granite, and Pretty Peacock. And then I was able to go to my cardstock swatches and just kind of pull out what I was thinking of. Pretty Peacock, Pool Party, and then I want Petal Pink. So from this, I was able to set them behind my, layer, and then decide which one I liked on the edge best. And that's when I decided to pull out my card bases and go with these colors. So it did run out. I knew that was coming. So our Stampin' Seal, the first time you buy it, you want to buy the one that comes with the case. And then the next time you order one, you want to order it without the case. These are just refills. And then you're going to just take this one out. And I have a tendency to lay it in front of me, and I notice that the words are right side up. Take that out. I'm going to get the new one, and I know I want to stick that in there right side up. And then I'm just going to match up the various posts. This one's going to go in this back hole here. The middle one's going to go here, and this little one's going to go up front. And then we're just going to set it down. Ooh, come on. I stuck my finger on it. And it's going to go in there. One of the things you also want to do when you're doing this is you want to make sure that you clean the case. Like sometimes I'll just, use my fingers and I try to rub it off here, or you may want to use an alcohol wipe, but you want to be sure that your case is really clean, because if it's not, your tape is going to stick to those little goobers. Ooh. I'm making more of a mess than normal. And then it will mess up the way that you are running your tape. We want to make sure that it is sticky up here at the tip, because when we start rolling it, I want to be sure that this is tacky and it's going to grab it, so that when I come along, then I want to kind of snap a little bit. And that's going to make sure that it does break off right there at the tip, because if you don't, as you roll it along, I don't know if you can see, but there's little stringy things. But there's string that will go between the cardstock and your tape runner. So when that snaps off, when it came back into the case, it's down here. Okay, it's not up at the tip. So then I need to advance it with my finger. So keep an eye on that as you are using your tape roller, that the key is to have it break off up there at the top. And for these cards, I'm using, as I said, that paper with the seals on it, or otters, utterly adorable. And otter awesomeness. Sorry, I should know that. But I went ahead and I took my punch and I just punched directly out of the designer series paper, like I did on Monday. And then I'm going to use that as my focal point instead of stamping. So this can make it even faster to throw together. And I'm centering them. But if you look at this one, look at how pretty that is. It just naturally fell, and that it's butted up here together, and then it makes this kind of crescent shape around the outside edge. That could be pretty too. I mean, look how pretty that could come out. So don't think it has to be always centered. It can go a little bit off center and still look pretty too. And then because everything I've done on this card so far is flat, to give it a little bit of depth, what I'm going to do is use Stampin' Dimensionals on the back. And there are two different sizes. I'm going to use the larger ones, but if you have something small that you want to raise up, then you may want to consider our littler ones. These are very useful with, some of our die cut words and things like that, because they're just smaller. When I put them down here and I take off the back, they're white in the middle. We also offer black. So if you're working on, say, Halloween cards, or something that's going to have a really dark cardstock to it, and you want the dimensionals to hide a little better, you might want to get the black ones. If you're having a little trouble seeing the difference between the matte of this one having its cover on it and the shininess of this one where I've already exposed the adhesive, then what you could do is take your full sheet of dimensionals and then just scribble all over it with a Sharpie, with a highlighter, I mean, anything. But just make sure that you get a little bit down each one. And then when you peel these off and you stick it to your project, then you will know that those ones that still have the line on the back still have their cover. So it would be like these, if I had done that ahead of time, would look like this. And then as I started peeling them off, I would know just the ones with the lines are the ones I need to take off. So what do you think? We made, let's see, there's 3, 6, 9, and then there's 10, 11, and some pieces over there of those ones I didn't like how they were coming out. But we basically put together a whole mess of cards, more than a dozen, in 40 minutes, and I did lots of talking. So please think about this technique and how simple and easy it is for both the experienced and the inexperienced stamper. And as always, if you have any questions, please let me know in the comments. I'm going to go through here and just make sure nobody asks something I didn't answer. Okay, so on Monday, we're going back to fun fold cards. So those of you who were anxious for those, you remember that we did the portrait orientation of this. It's a gatefold pop out. But this time on Monday, I'm doing landscaped. So it's the same kind of idea that we have this kind of an M shape to it. And it's going to open up and pop out. And, you know, we can put another sentiment in the middle if you wish to have it pop up, or you can leave it flat like this. The other thing that I did is I added another layer. We had stuck the basic white directly to the card base in the one last Monday. This time we're going to add a matte. And then we're going to use the Emperor, I can't pronounce that word, but the pack that has all these little pieces. Or the die cuts that come out of the designer series paper pack. And as you can see, I used the Spotlight on Nature dies here. So that's what we're doing on Monday. So I look forward to seeing you then. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, absolutely give me an email, shoot me a message. You can find me on Facebook. You can email me, as I said. I'm all over the place. Can't talk and type. But I'll put my email address here in the comments for those of you who don't have it. Hopefully you're on my newsletter, and through my newsletter you can just hit reply. So oh yeah, that makes sense. Somebody's saying that you could put packing tape over the dimensionals and then peel it off. And then the packing tape would hold on to the whole mess of covers. You'd be uncovering a whole bunch all at once. But that's an idea. If you were mass producing, you might want a whole bunch of them all at once. Okay, so thank you for being here with me. I appreciate those of you who shop with me. Make sure you use that host code, because then you would get the Craft Along with Me packet of like all the pieces to put a card together with me, and the set of 6 tutorials. And of course, your free celebration items. Thank you so much. See you on Monday. Bye.